welcome back to Beholder to Know on a D&D podcast. Today, Greg and I are with 3 kobolds in a trench coat, and all 3 of them are here today. So welcome, Meepo, Raku. How do I say it? How do I say it?
You can do it, Iggy. Raku?
Yep.
Raku and Snickle. Yep, I said it right on the first try.
Nope. Not editing that out at all.
No, edit it out. We're going to talk about our experiences at the D&D table today and just share some of the fun experiences, not so fun experiences, and experiences that just like destroyed us utterly, possibly. But let's start with Meepo, I guess. What are your, give us a little bit of background about your generalized experience with D&D and tabletop games.
Playing D&D probably about 3 years ago. And I originally, like back when I was a bit younger, I had a friend who was like, oh, you should come over and I'll run like a little thing for you and we'll talk about D&D stuff. And that was pretty cool. But then a few years later, I stumbled across a little show called Critical Role and got slightly obsessed, and then I got into it and was a player, and the longer I played, I tried my hand at DMing, and I guess the rest is history, and now I'm running a campaign and I have become the forever DM for my group.
Yeah, the Critical Role part sounds very familiar to quite a few people, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's... For me, I found Critical Role at a particularly low point in my life, so it was something that kind of helped and inspired me to become a better person, I guess. So D&D cool. Is something
nice.
that helps me in everyday life, and it gives me something to look forward to every weekend. So
awesome. Next,
Raku.
Raku.
She just didn't want to say it. There we go.
I'm so stuck with Raku for some reason. Damn it.
Think of it like a rack of lamb.
There you go.
Okay. I'll probably remember it now, maybe.
A little mnemonic for you.
So I got interested in D&D through Meepo, actually. We were friends ages ago, and we are.
Not anymore.
I'm sorry you had to find out this way.
It's all coming out now. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So Meepo actually introduced me to D&D and wanted me to join a small campaign that she was going to start testing the waters with DMing. And I absolutely loved it because I loved the whole role-playing side of things. I love the adventure, the action side of it. It's all it is just an incredible game to play. I've DM'd a few groups myself, and I love both sides of the DM screen, to be honest. And I think it's definitely a game that stays with people their entire life, rather than, some games where it's like Pokemon, where you only stick with it when you're young. But I think D&D is definitely a lifelong road to travel.
For sure.
And Stickle.
Yeah, so I got introduced to D&D a few years ago. A very close friend of my partner and I had only just started playing D&D maybe 3 weeks before, and he called us up one day and said, hey, I found this new game that's really cool. Do you guys want to give it a go? I've only played a little, but I want to have a crack at DMing the game. And we all got really hooked on it. We had a blast. We weren't exactly playing it properly. He wasn't really a stickler for rules, but we had a really good time. And I met Meepo and Raku through a mutual friend who said that they were going to start running some one-shots every couple of weeks, just to, because they all had their own long-running campaigns that they were doing and wanted to throw something else into the mix. And and we all, have been pretty good friends since then. And we're doing a campaign together ever since the start of this year, I'm pretty sure, is when we kicked that off.
Yeah, it's been about 6 months now.
It's been a while now. And we've had Meepo doing a wonderful job of DMing this campaign. And
well, thank you.
Yeah, having a really good time.
That's really cool.
Awesome. Is it out of curiosity, is it a pre-made campaign, or is it homebrew?
So it's half homebrew, but it's actually, I'm running it in Taldore, so it's a Taldore campaign.
Nice.
Yeah, so I homebrew it quite a lot. So for anyone who's familiar with campaign 1 and 2 of Critical Role, my game is based 40 years after the events of Vox Machina defeating Vecna. So it's also 20 years after supposedly the Mighty Nine.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted it to be enough away in time from what they're going in canon, so that, you know, I can run my own game, and as we discover things that happen on the stream, I can choose to incorporate it into my world if I want.
Oh, there you go.
So you've
Nice.
still got plenty of room to
Yeah.
do what you want with it. And I've been loving playing this game because I'm someone who, I mean, I've seen little bits and pieces of Critical Role, but I'm not particularly versed on the world or their show or anything like that. So I'm going into it pretty much blind, and only, you know, picking up references here and there to something that might have happened on their show.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I am almost completely caught up. I'm on the episode prior to the one that just aired on Thursday or yesterday, which will not be yesterday for people, but when this episode goes out. But I think I'm on episode 109.
Yeah, I think I'm. No, wait. What was episode last night? I can't remember. I'm halfway through it anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't watch it live because I'm 109. I'm Eastern time, which they play Pacific time. That's 3 hours behind us. So by the time they start to air, I'm getting ready for bed, and there's no point for me to start watching it if I'm gonna be falling asleep halfway through it. And not because I'm not entertained, but because I have to get up in the morning for work.
Or you go the other way and stay up late enough to watch the whole thing, and then you're just exhausted the whole next day.
But for us here, so I work full time, and on Fridays when it airs here for us, that's like lunchtime here for me, so I can't watch it until I get home at night.
Right. That's completely fair. I started playing 17 years ago.
Wow.
And have been playing in a bunch of different games, not just D&D, but D&D is one of my favorites. My favorite is Shadowrun, but D&D is one of my favorites, and it's the one I know the best. 5th edition specifically is the one I know the best. Critical Role did help rekindle some of it. I think we were playing before Critical Role released, but I think, no, we were playing before I was introduced to Critical Role. I wasn't introduced to it until 100+ episodes into season 1, and then I just dived into it and just watched everything I possibly could.
I think I managed to watch, when I discovered Critical Role, I think they were probably about 20 episodes into season 2, and I managed to catch up on all of campaign 1 and 2, as well as all the one-shots in 4 months.
Jesus, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's something like over 500 hours of footage, so I was like, oh, didn't realize I watched that much.
It's maybe 500 hours, but it doesn't feel like it. It's so enthralling. The hours just go by super quick.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Greg?
I mean, I've been playing for about 3, maybe 4 years now. Have had a couple experiences DMing. Not really. I haven't been really into it until lately. Back in middle school and high school, I used to have the books for, I believe it was 3.5, and I used to read them and try to get a group together to do something, but it never worked out. So it was really just me kind of sitting around lunchtime and break time at my old school, just reading the monster manual and the player's handbook and the DM's guide for a game that never actually got set up. But yeah, I haven't really done anything. I'm sorry, I haven't really had time to play until within the last couple of years, because my now wife is really into it, and obviously now I'm part of this podcast, so it's kind of in a way a requirement, I would say.
A little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I've been having a blast. D&D is always super fun. I haven't really delved much into other TTRPGs, aside from the ones that we've played on this show, but D&D has been a staple for quite some time.
Have you guys tried any of the other games other than D&D, or have you mostly been incorporated into 5th?
I personally have only played 5th edition D&D, and I haven't really branched out into any other TTRPGs, but I mean, if I came across someone who was keen to run one, I'd be, more than interested in giving it a go. The friend who introduced me to D&D used to be really into Warhammer, but I think he's shifted over into D&D. Like it's less time consuming and costly. That's for sure.
It's also less expensive.
I was going to say, yeah.
Warhammer is so pricey.
It is very expensive. I mean, he loves to paint the miniatures that come with Warhammer. Like the quality is really up there. But I mean, half the time he'll be paying, upwards of 150 Aussie dollars
Or the Treant.
for just one thing.
That's crazy. I like terrain building. I'm not super into it. Like I go and do it all the time, but I love terrain building when I was working on things. And there are inexpensive options out there, but it's also like so much easier if you're like, oh, but I could just buy this and it will be made for me and I won't have to do all that work.
That's the trap.
That's the trap. Like I bought a foam cutter specifically to build a tavern for our Dragon Heist game. And I got the first floor of the tavern done, and then I never finished the rest. There's like 4 floors.
The first floor was badass, though.
Thank you.
Like you
I
killed
liked
that.
it. I had popsicle sticks and I stained them and cut them to make wood, and then there was actual like windows where there was like transparency in it that was solid like glass, but it wasn't glass, and there was like texture on the wall. Honestly, I'm really proud of it. I really am. I need to finish it, but now we're not playing it anymore.
Right. You also did the rainbow bar.
I did. We had a rainbow bar. It was perfect. My character demanded a rainbow bar. She saved up 75 gold to get it, and it was a key feature in the bar. And I made it with glitter and glue.
Yeah, I don't think anyone that we really play with is big on terrain building. I mean, I've dabbled a little bit in more props than terrain, but nothing significant.
Am I?
I mean, if I
Go
could.
ahead.
Sorry. I mean, if I could afford it, I'd have Dwarven Forge.
Hell
and
yeah.
For
stuff,
sure.
so-
Dwarven Forge is beautiful.
Yeah, except to get it here to Australia is very costly.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very hard to get your hands on here.
I do enjoy like you go in and you see other people's setups for their terrain and their little minis, and you've got this massive campaign and all these little items on the table. But some of the cheaper ways and some of the ways that I do enjoy is actually creating a printable map and heading down to our local office supply shop and getting them to print it out in like A0 or something like that, getting it all laminated so that way I could still draw on it with a pen if I need to. But yeah, those printable maps are just the easiest thing to
there's heaps
get
of
by.
alternatives to there's some really quality ones that I've seen put together with that. You go ahead.
all of the stuff that I have coming up at the moment in my campaign, because I have a big arc that these guys are in at the moment, and I won't go into too much detail for them. But they have these 7 things that they need to defeat, and they all have their own lairs. So I just finished putting together all these lair maps. So
That's really cool. Yeah, we just draw our maps, I think, with like on like a grid paper or grid dry erase board type thing. The only reason why I spent the time on the tavern was because we were always in it. So it was like it was like going to be something that I knew was constant. And technically, we can continue into Dungeons of the Mad Mage if we wanted to. So the bar could be prevalent again, but instead we're playing Icewind Dale now. So it's like, that's my issue with terrain is like, are you going to use it again? Or is it like a one-time thing?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you are putting, if you're building it, it's a lot of man hours and a lot of effort. And then B, if you're buying it, it might feel like a bit of a waste of money. Like my partner was running a seafaring campaign for a little while, and he really wanted to get a 3D printed ship for the ship that our characters were using, like with all the grid lines marked on it. And I said to him, yeah, that would be really cool. But the quotes that you're getting, at the end of the day, it'll just be a piece of plastic sitting on the shelf, which is tragic. But when you don't need it anymore, it's just going to be, it's going to feel like a bit of a waste.
Yeah, that's the issue. I have a friend who builds beautiful terrain pieces, and he's constantly creating them. So he literally has anything and everything you could possibly need. You need a ship, he's got you. You need some trees, he's got you. You need like a random destroyed tavern, he's probably got you. Like, and if he doesn't, if you need something and he doesn't have it, he's like, I'll whip it up this weekend. And then suddenly he has it. And I'm just like, Jesus. But that's like what he loves to do. That's like his hobby. And he finds really cheap ways to do it too, to ensure that it's not super costly. So some of the ideas he has, he's like, oh yeah, that's made out of this trash piece I found. And I'm like, oh, that's clever. I've played non-D&D games. I've played Shadowrun, but I did like a 5th edition version of it where it was like more a D20 based, and Mech Warrior, GURPS, 3.5 Pathfinder, Starfinder, stuff like that. I still always find myself in D&D 5th edition, though lately I've been loving that we've been playing all these new games in our one-shots. Like we tried Magic School Mysteries, which is where you get to play as wizards in a magical school, and that was entertaining.
Yeah, for sure. That was fun.
Then we played, what was the next game we played, Greg?
World of Wilderveer?
Yes, World of Wilderveer was hilarious. That was such a great game, and it's free, which was even better. It was super simple to play. And they're starting a podcast actually, so that for an actual play, which I'm excited about.
Oh, nice.
Then we tried Lewd Grannies, which is a one-shot, one-page RPG game where you play as little old ladies who are crashing a wedding. That was great. And then the last game that we played, which goes out on the next Thursday, the 24th. That is Weird Space, which was an interesting game, a more adult-leaning game than some of the others, but it was a very fun time. We drank a 6-pack, and each drink had a different side effect. It was like a morning after table that we were playing on. So it was a fun game. It was very different. And the next one we're doing is Savage Worlds, which is I'm super excited for.
Lands.
Hmm?
It's the
No, I thought that it was going like more places than just I want to try Deadlands.
Yeah, my brain stopped then. So again, if you know much about Critical Role, it's the four games that Brian W. Foster ran, where he turned it into Undeadwood.
Oh yeah.
Yep, Undeadwood was great.
Yeah, so it's based off of Deadlands. So that's the RPG. That would be really cool. I'd love to give it a go.
I've never played anything other than D&D, but I have heard quite a lot of other people in my circle of friends that have been trying Pathfinder more recently. So, no, I don't think I'll stray any further out of D&D.
Comfy here.
Yeah.
Pathfinder is a fun game. If you didn't know, Pathfinder is kind of like the step up from 3.5 D&D, where they took everything they loved and then got rid of the things they didn't like and tweaked it a little bit. It's very similar in play style as D&D is, but it's a little bit more customizable if you know what you're doing. So it's very overwhelming if you're just looking at it as a new person. And I've played it before, and even to me, I'm just like, what? There's so many options. Like, what am I doing? But it can be a lot of fun. So what's like an epic story or something about a game that you were at or in? It could be something from your podcast or something from a one shot or just anything.
So my current campaign that I'm running, that these two are in at the moment, they're in an arc where basically a mind flayer lich has decided that he can't go into too much detail as to why, but he summoned 7 warlords of sin who are now taken up residence around places in Exandria and have magically rooted themselves into the places like capitals and stuff of where they were when they were alive, which was around the time of the calamity. And basically the party at the moment is in the process of procuring vestiges of divergence so that they have enough ability and power to be able to take them on and hopefully save Exandria. But obviously there's some more stuff going on behind the scenes that they don't actually know about. So,
which is very scary, and I don't like to hear.
So in that sense, my end game is kind of so my level 20 god level stuff is linked to what's happening now, which they kind of have started to figure out.
We have a gist of what's going to happen when we get to that point. Like we know the name of what we're going to have to fight and that, but the route to get there is pretty up in the air, and we don't really know what's around the corner. But we've gotten through 3 of 5 vestiges now. We got the one that was meant for my character last session, and the fights have gotten progressively harder. Particularly stressful. So I'm not looking forward to this final fight that you keep ominously hinting at. I mean, it's going to be a blast, but I'm a little afraid.
Yeah, so I was talking about it with Raku the other day, and I think we decided that when we get to end game stuff, so when they fight so basically they know who it is, so it's not going to ruin anything. They're basically taking on an eldritch god who is the Yellow King. For anyone who's not into Cthulhu mythos, that's Hastor, who is Cthulhu's brother, basically.
Yep.
And so basically they have to defeat him, but you can't, because he's a god, you can't actually kill him, so they have to figure out how to banish him. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yes.
Sounds fun.
But even in the lead up to this all happening, we've had some really awesome roleplay moments, particularly after we found our first vestige. We had a pretty odd bunch of characters.
Yeah.
And we had some very emotional and very full-on roleplay after we defeated
a Hydra in 30 seconds.
What? Jeez.
Yeah, so we ended up timing it. So they ended up having how many rounds of? It was 5.
It was not very much. We killed it pretty quickly.
Yeah, 5 rounds of combat, which is 6 seconds, and it's like 30 seconds. And so they destroyed a Hydra because they just kept hitting it with fire.
Jesus.
I was kind of annoyed, but at the same time so proud.
That's how that usually goes. They're like, oh, I have this badass fucking creature for you guys to fight. Oh, it's dead. Oh.
Yeah. It's like, it's a love-hate. You're just like, you guys did so good. I hate you.
I think I've started to learn, though, as my characters are going on in levels, I think the bane of my existence is Counterspell.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. Sounds about right. It was actually funny in today's the game I just got off of. The DM had this whole fight planned, and I stealthed away. We noticed them with our perception, and I stealthed away and jumped on the roof, and we purposely ambushed them ourselves that when they were trying to ambush us, and they followed us into a alleyway thinking they were going to get the ambush us on it, and I just jumped down and punched one of them and knocked him out instantly.
Nice.
And my DM's just like, that was brilliant and I hate you. Like, basically. Like, there's goes 30 minutes of fighting, and it's like, sorry?
It's like it's hard as a DM because you want your players to succeed and you don't want to kill them, but at the same time, I think for me, like especially in the last fight, as Snickle was just talking about when they just got her vestige, which was incredibly hard. I rolled so many natural 20s and I was like visibly excited and cheering for that. And then at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, I can probably kill these guys. That's bad.
Yep. Been there.
It's like, yay, I'm hitting you and doing lots of damage. Oh crap, what if they die?
It's like, yay, I'm doing something, but I also feel bad, and this is going to end the ish. Oh, wait. I like these characters.
Particularly following on from what I was talking about before with that, like we had some really full-on roleplay that like we had a mix of we have a paladin who worships the Wild Mother, and then on the other end of the scale we had a vampire who was pretty much had a debt to Vecna.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
So we had all types, and sort of preceding that fight, we managed to bring back our vampire character, who was Raku's character, to his original alignment.
Yeah,
he's good again.
Fallen. He was a protector Asima for the Wild Mother, was killed. Vecna resurrected him as a vampire, and then he became a fallen Asima vampire for Vecna. And then through that ceremony, returned him back to protector Asima vampire for the Wild Mother.
And he also just
got married.
Yeah.
And my character and the paladin character have had like a lead up to a romance for months and months of real life time that finally was like realized in roleplay. What else happened in that? Our other kind of morally ambiguous character had his issues solved as well. So I think you probably would have felt a little bad if you started killing yourself after all of that happened.
Most definitely, especially because like it was like kind of like the whole, like you see all those memes going around where your characters are like, oh, big redemption arc, and then it's like you're dead. So, but like it's always a thing in the back of my head, and I try and do it. Like if you're in the middle of combat and say you're fighting something that's completely feral and crazy, and as much as it sucks, if that creature knocks something unconscious, just because it's unconscious, it's not going to stop its attacks if it's got more to do because it's focused on that singular character, which, you know, that's playing the game like as the creature would, but at the same time in the back of your head you're like, there is a possibility I could kill this character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. I think there's a pretty fine balance there between playing your monsters properly, like how you think they would act, and not, you know, going easy on your players, and maybe, you know, being a little bit too harsh and trying to kill them a little too actively.
I mean, I don't try and kill you actively.
No, I'm not saying that. I think there is a pretty fine balance.
Yeah,
there.
It's hard to balance. Like, for me as a DM, it's, as I said, like half the time I'm like super excited that I'm doing all this stuff, and then in the back of my head I stop and I'm like,
I want them to die.
I want them to die. I love this campaign. But you guys are getting to the point now where you're high enough level where you can start resurrecting people.
Yeah, we're getting to that point now, so it shouldn't be as scary anymore.
Nice.
Hopefully.
Yeah, they're level 7, aren't you, at the moment?
Yes, and after we get the last vestige, we're going up to level 8. Yes.
Yeah.
Or are we level 8 already? So
No.
we're level 8 or 7 now.
Oh, you're 8 now. There you go.
Yeah, level 9
So
then.
they go up
So.
to level 9.
My level 9 monk is amazing.
Well, luckily they have a cleric in the party, so
Level 9 is so much fun. Honestly, like there's some really cool things for some of the classes. Once you get higher level, if you haven't gotten to experience it, once you do, you're like, I can do that? This is amazing.
Yeah, I still haven't. Aside from like the birthday thing we did for you, Nikki, I still haven't played anything higher than I think a 6th, maybe 7th level character.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we did a birthday thing for Nikki where we played a D&D campaign with like myself, my wife, and like I think it was like 6 other people or something like that. It was a pretty big party.
Donna, Logan, Becky, Scott, Tasha, Mike, you, Ashley, myself. So there's 9.
Yeah, it was a huge group for D&D specifically, and it was like this birthday D&D game where we all went into a tavern, we met each other, or whatever. We did a couple fights, and then turns out, what the hell? Nikki's character was Tiamat all along, and then we had to fight Tiamat.
God!
That's a pretty good plot twist.
It was fun. I think eventually somebody like bumped into me and my character got mad and was like, you spilled my beer? How dare you? And then turned into Tiamat and tried to kill them all.
Wow.
And it was great. Greatest birthday party ever.
It was an experience to say the least.
That would be awesome.
Which would you prefer, a Tarask or Tiamat?
I went with Tiamat purely because like my nickname online for a lot of my things is Dragon Queen. So that's why I went with Tiamat. Though a Tarask would have been badass as well.
I think I would rather try to fight 2 Tarasks than Tiamat again.
What?
And that's going off of basically, like, I know what a Tarask is. I've never fought one, but I'm not 100% sure what they're capable of. But based on my experience fighting against Tiamat, I don't want to do that again.
So in 5th edition, from what I've heard, Tarasks are killable, but in like 3.5, they originally were not able to be killed except with a wish spell.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah, they changed that because I only know this because I brought up that I was putting my party up against a Tarask for funsies. They were high level, and someone's like, "You can't do that. They're not going to be able to like. Oh, somebody have a wish spell." I'm like, "No, you can kill it." And they're like, "No, you can't." I'm like, "Yeah, you can." We had like a 15-minute argument about it until I got the book out and showed them that in 5th edition you could, And they're like, that's stupid. I'm like, probably, but you can. Like,
I think it's really intended to be something that is kind of meant to seem unkillable, but if you're high enough level and you try hard enough, you can kill it. But I mean, that doesn't always work. I ran a were you there for that one shot that I don't know. Anyway, I ran a one shot last year off of a module that I found online called what was it called? Anyway, it was a puzzle-based dungeon, so it wasn't meant to be deadly. It was just meant to be a challenge. But there was another contestant NPC as part of this puzzle dungeon, whose name was Testicles, who was
Very
meant to
nice.
be, yes, very nice, meant to be unkillable, or like his purpose was to kind of like they were going to encounter him in one of the later puzzle rooms. And he was going to go, no, I'm going to win. You know, I'm going to beat you guys and fight them, but not kill them. And while they were sort of unable to fight anymore, he was going to go to the next room and act as a method of like providing some clues because the last puzzle was quite challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to fail. So it would give them some tip-offs of what not to do. But the instant they saw him and the instant he started talking smack, they're like, oh, yeah, I cast Levitate on him. Okay, I cast Dimension Door above his head. I'm sending him to Waterdeep.
That's great.
And that was the end of that.
That reminds me of a one-shot I played, which was Tomb of Annihilation. And
yes.
Ooh, nice.
I was in that game as well.
Yeah, my character. So our DM let us have multiple characters so that we could just, you know, if one died, we can just run in with a new one. Anyway, so I built this one like on the fly. Anyway, I ran in and we got to the boss's room and I literally walked in and I'm like, I cast Banishment and it worked.
God.
Nice.
Game over. DM's like, okay, get out of my house.
We're never playing again.
Actually, that might not be the game that I played. I think I did Tomb of Annihilation a different time.
Yeah, I think it was different.
Yeah, it would have been a different game because that didn't happen then, the one that I ran. But I didn't run, sorry.
That
one
was-
that I played in. And we all got really stuck at one point and we're like, oh, yeah, we'll like jump in this big hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes, Sphere of Annihilation. Sorry, you're all dead.
Yeah.
Nice. That sucks, but it's also funny.
It is. And,
Yeah.
and that was, no, I think you weren't in that one because
I was
that's where we
not,
had Karen from HR.
Yes, I was not there for
Oh.
that, unfortunately.
Okay, so it started out as Dave from accounting because I just had no idea what to do with this monk character. And then we got through and there's a gender changing portal. Dave from accounting went through, Karen from HR came out. And it was the most horrible safety intued character I've ever done.
And Mike ended up killing Karen from HR by dropping her into lava.
That'll do it.
Mm.
Oh, I think one shots are great because you can get up to some really wacky shenanigans that you wouldn't ever dare to do
Oh, no.
in a long-running campaign. You can just be like, oh, yeah, screw you, Karen from HR. I'm going to put you in lava. You know, you
Yeah.
wouldn't do that to
No,
someone's
there's no
PC.
long-term consequences.
Yeah, there is no long-term
To be
consequences.
fair, Karen from HR tried to jump on my bugbear's back whilst levitating and then fell off. So
What can I say? Karen's not very dexterous.
That's why she took the HR
Her
job.
her acrylics that are as long as her fingers don't really give her much grip.
Yeah, she didn't use her nails as like claws. Like she should. But Nikki, as you were saying, I ran a homebrew campaign called the the Duchess of Dawn, and honestly, it was probably the most I've put effort into any sort of homebrew campaign, and it was the best thing I've ever done. But we had to cut it short because there was a few issues with the people playing it. So I've always got it somewhere tucked away, ready to go as soon as I can run a campaign for myself again.
It's like this is coming back out and seeing the light of day. We will finish
Yeah,
this
I'm
if you
sorry.
like it or not.
It was run as like a bit of a detective story about what was happening, and the Duchess of the town went missing, and she married the bad guy down the road, and it was crazy. It was a cult following.
One thing led to another.
There was so much chaos. Yeah. And because it was all detective, I had to keep track of what was happening and
Yeah.
then find consequences for small incidences. Like my two characters bad-mouthed a tavern owner. So they walked off. They thought they were all right. The next day they got beaten up because the tavern owner spoke to the regulars that attended the tavern. And the regulars thought they'd take it into their hands and go beat up the players.
I mean, you don't pick on the person who gives out the booze. I'm sorry.
That's right. So it was just it was one of those best campaigns I ever made. But yeah, can't wait to get back into it whenever I can.
I think my favorite game I ran was actually like a one, not a one shot specifically, but it was for a play by post game. And the way that it worked there was you ran a quest for a group of people and then they moved on to the next quest and on to the next quest, etc. Well, I ran a quest for this group of people who became friends in real life. And so their characters became friends in the game. And in the first quest line, one of the characters, who's a fire ganassi, got really mad and stormed off and went rushing through this dungeon that they were in and ran into a party of monsters. I think it was goblins and hobgoblins or something like that. And instead of just going, oh shit, and closing the door and walking away, he rushed up to the person and punched them and then went to go walk away. And I'm like, you realize he's going to get an attack of opportunity against you, right? And he's like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. And then I rolled a natural 20. And then he went down in one hit. And then he rolled a 1 on his death save, and none of the party members knew where he was. And then he failed his second death save. And so he was just unconscious. So I let him play as a ghost, only in the sense that he could interact with people, kind of. And he led them by like warming the area to the right of them, or like soft whispers or something like that, and led them to his body, and they found out, and that caused a quest line of them going to find a way to resurrect him because they were all level 1. So they didn't have a spell. And I'm like, well, you can just go make a new character. He's like, no, I'm determined. We are resurrecting this character.
Yeah, once you put a lot of effort into a character, you try and stick with them as best you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they went to a cleric that was in the woods, and he sent him to his shed to get a diamond, but the shed turned out to be a portal to the Feywilds, and they eventually got the diamond and got him resurrected. But it was just like, it was a really fun, like, that was one of the more enjoyable games that I DM'd on that server. And then everybody else was really happy because they got a lot of heavy RP moments throughout the game.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that I enjoy role-playing the most. Combat in D&D is still really fun and really engaging, but I think I get the most benefit out of a good role-play session.
A lot of character development, emotional moments are usually what like carry the D&D session through.
Yeah, because you can always walk away from a good combat and be like, oh, that was really hard, or that was so awesome, like, I did this and that was really cool. But I think you get the most takeaway from building, those really powerful role-playing moments and building the story with your friends.
Greg, do you have any stories you want to share?
The one I always like to bring up is my old cleric, one of the first characters I played in like an actual serious campaign that we actually managed to go through the entire thing in a relatively short amount of time. Glory, my cleric, both of the games that my wife has DM'd, I usually end up being the bad guy in some way. Like, for instance, in the last one she ran, which was the Waterdeep campaign, my character in the middle of the campaign died and then was brought back to life as a simulacrum by the main bad guy in Waterdeep. And then I basically tried to suicide bomb the party and almost succeeded. I believe I knocked one person out, and then like 2 other people were super close to dead. And then my newly made character came in and helped the rest of the fight. But the original campaign, which was the Lost Mines of Phandelver, like the beginner campaign, because it was I think it was my wife's first time DMing that game. My character was a cleric. He lived out in the woods for many years. So he didn't have good social skills, and he's lived alone for such an extended period of time that he started to lose his grip on reality, and just, he was basically just like a relatively crazy person. I ended up being the final boss in that campaign because my teacher was the quote-unquote technical final boss of that campaign. And we got to his lair, we fought him, he said a phrase that my character recognized, and it triggered a transformation in my character, turning him into, I can't remember the name of the creature, but it was a relatively high-level magic caster with like demon wings and all this other stuff, and it was really cool. But as we've talked about a couple times already, that fight was extremely anticlimactic because I think I went invisible and then I shot a lightning bolt at Nikki, and then I think they caused a cave in and I died almost instantaneously.
Yeah, and then we were given the option to rescue him, and we're just like, why? He just attacked us. And we found out of character after he was officially dead that by him dying, the curse was broken or whatever. And we're like, oh shit.
Oh no.
Oh, well, that's all fixed now, I guess.
It all worked out.
It all worked out in the end.
Yeah, that was super fun.
Yeah, I've certainly played some really memorable characters. I haven't really played anyone who's been too crazy or too evil. We all know someone who has a penchant for playing crazy old men.
Yeah, yep. That's me. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, my partner. Whenever he said to come up with a last-minute character, particularly for a one-shot, he'll be like, yeah, I'm this like geriatric old man who has no idea where he is or what he's doing. And he's just here for the, it was just along for the ride. Yeah, but I mean, I certainly have some backup characters in my mind that are more along the, don't have as a solid grip on reality, or maybe are not so good. Yeah, I think I've played too many heroic characters in my past. They've just kind of ended up that way. They've been too friendly or, too strong-willed.
I look forward to seeing where Silvar goes.
Yes. Yeah, I've got a very haughty, very interesting elf character that I've put together for a campaign that we're starting very soon. We've got a session 0 coming up for that. I think everyone in that is chaotic something. Nobody's good.
Nice.
So I think that'll probably be the first game that at least the group of us are playing that hasn't had any like good characters in it. They've all got some kind of ulterior motive for banding together, which will be really interesting. It's a very different dynamic to what I think most D&D games end up being, where it's either people start out good and maybe stray from the path, particularly if they're a warlock or something along that line, or they start out with, a couple of little maybe morally ambiguous characters scattered through the group, who then have a redemption arc, like we've talked about with this campaign we're doing at the moment. They have that moment later on where they have some character growth and, become good or have a really redeeming moment in their story.
Yeah, I like it when you get to see those moments come to life, especially when you like actually grow attached to your characters and you get to see them grow a little bit and like they're heading towards something and then it happens and you're just like, yes.
I think we've seen that a lot with the characters that we're playing at the moment. We've really seen some humongous growth, and a couple of characters have been cycled out, like their time has come to an end. Or we've had a couple of players who have moved on for various reasons. But I think at the core of the group, even with the characters who haven't been involved in it, as long as the others, because we still have 3 original characters who were there from day dot. But yeah, there's some really awesome moments that we've gotten to, collectively storytell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may be slightly addicted to D&D. Slightly.
Slightly.
Yes, just slightly, just a little bit, a little bit.
Whatever you have to tell yourself.
Maybe a lot of bit. Is 5 days a week excessive? I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
Oh my god!
Wow.
I wish I had that much time.
The problem is I probably don't.
We're doing at least 1 game a week at the moment. And I think that with this one that we're starting, that'll be fortnightly. So we'll do 2 games 1 week and then 1 the other.
Well, I DM on Mondays. Greg and I, with our spouses and his friend Will, we just started last week or this week a Tuesday game for Icewind Dale. And then I'm in a Friday game. But then bi-weekly we play weekly we either play a one shot or we play our actual play for the podcast. So I guess it's 4 games. So it's not as bad. It's only 4.
Only.
I know where the 5th one came from.
Oh, I think it's good with that you've got a little.
The 5th one was
Yeah.
starting a new game. That's right.
There you go.
I forgot.
I think I saw you talking about that on Twitter, that you had another one coming up soon.
Yes. Don't have details about it yet, but I think we picked the group.
Oh, nice.
So we're pretty much doing like, hey, do we all get along? Can we do this together and as a team and all that stuff, and working out the kinks and the details about it. I'm really happy with the group that I picked so far, so hopefully it works out. But if not, then that's fine. There's sometimes personalities clash and stuff like that, so I wanted to prepare for that and have an open mindset for it. But it's a very diverse team, and I'm super excited about that. And we are talking about what type of game we want to play. I'm leaning personally towards like a Firefly, Star Trek-esque feel.
Nice.
Personally, but we shall see.
Firefly is amazing.
Yes, it is. Greg still needs to watch it, I think.
I do, yes.
Please do.
Yep.
Homework for the week.
I have enough of that I will try my best.
This goes ahead of the homework you had last time.
Okay.
But I'm super excited for that. It's really fun. And then the one shots I love because we get to try new games and then we get to help people who are indie creators. So that's always a lot of fun.
Yep.
And some of those games are fantastic. Like I know I talked about them earlier, but like I'm super in awe at some of the creativity that people have.
For sure. Weird Space was a blast. It was a weird blast, but a blast nonetheless.
There's a reason why it's called Weird Space.
Indeed.
So have you ever had a character straight up die, just like no coming back from it, or a TPK?
Me, no.
Yeah, I did have a character in a campaign we finished up not long ago. He was a rogue mastermind, I think it was. No, rogue inquisitor.
Oh, those are fun.
And it was a tough campaign, but we got into a sticky situation in, I think, a swamp, and we had all these tree ants surrounding us, and he died, and the NPC that we're actually going to find had resurrection. But I spoke with the DM, and he said it's up to you if you want to continue the character or if you want to let the character die. I said, I've never experienced character death yet, so I'll let him die. He said, are you sure? Do you really want to do that? You don't have to. You can get him. They can be revivified or they can be resurrected. It's okay. We've got to wish for that. He's trying to convince me. I said, no, it's fine. I want to experience what a character death is like, so I'll just let it happen.
Yeah, for me personally, as much as I don't want any of my current characters to die, I'm really enjoying playing them. I'm the same. I've never had a PC die on me, only one-shot characters, which I've never grown particularly attached to. But I have seen it happen in another game. It was actually my partner's character, but this was a little unique in that he certainly didn't set it up for his character to die, but it was his own choice in the end. So we got into, this probably rings bells again for you, Raku. We got into a very sticky situation. And his character decided to act as a distraction for, to try and get us out. Like where we were quite surrounded and needed to find a way to escape. And my character and the other character who was with us at that time managed to get out, and we're like, we need to get back and get Davik out of here. He's still back in there. But his character was captured by this giant undead orc megaboss who was led by some kind of spellcaster. And he rolled and rolled and rolled to try and break free, but he couldn't. But the DM said, okay, I'll give you one last shot, but if you can't break free from this orc megaboss's grasp in that roll, I'm not going to let you try again. And he rolled a natural 20. And what he did with that is he pulled his gun out with his free hand and shot himself so that he wouldn't be a source of information.
Nice.
For this bad guy, which was a really cool moment to have. He's like, I did not go into that session, wanting my character to die. That wasn't the angle I was trying to take. But, it was cool to have agency in that moment and, make that choice of, oh, I don't want my character to die, but that's what needs to happen in this moment right now.
Right.
That's badass.
Yeah.
It was very cool. We were all very shaken after that.
Greg, you have did you, I know you shared about Glory, but did you share about Lathless?
I briefly mentioned it. That was the in the simulacrum that suicide bombed the party. That was my character. And yeah, it was kind of the same situation as how he died. We managed to make our way into the tower, or the lair of the last boss, or the final guy of the campaign. And on the way out, got caught. And basically, my character, in a way, sacrificed himself so the rest of the party can get away and escape from the lair without them, obviously getting hurt or anything like that. And my wife was the DM. She did give me a choice whether I wanted to save the character, but then end up working more or less for the bad guy, or I could be killed. And the backstory to my character was basically that guy killed my family, and there was no way in hell I was going to be like, yeah, you know what? Cool. Yeah, I don't want to die. Let's work together. So basically, there was this whole scene of him holding on to me, and then my character basically spitting in his face and telling him to go fuck himself, basically. And that's when Power Word Death came out, and didn't live through that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, when his simulacrum ended up coming back, because my character was like the only one that was super like, where is Lathless? What's going on? Everybody else seemed pretty cool with it. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Like, we need to go find him. And they're like, no, he's fine. I'm like, well, I cast Sending. You don't get anything. It could mean he's on a different plane of existence. So I'm like, no, it's not. No, we need to find. Like, I was freaking out in character. And then he showed up, and either the question I asked was wrong, or the insight check I rolled wasn't great, or the deception roll was better. But I was like, what happened? And he was able to trick us into believing it was the real Lathless. And I was like, at the end, when we found out what was going on, I'm just like, you motherfucker. It's like, I know it's not your fault, but damn it. How much did you know? It was everything. So we found out we literally gave all of our plans and all of the details and all of the items we needed and everything. I'm trying not to do like spoilers because the game might be played by somebody else. But we all said it in front of Lathless's simulacrum. And that went to the boss that we were trying to beat.
Oh,
We're like, well, this timetable got a lot shorter.
Yeah, it was super fun. I really like
you're
how
picking yourself up to doing that.
Yeah, for sure. I really like how my wife handled that whole situation. It was really cool.
Yeah, she did a really good job on that. I had a character die and come back, but it was on and off for a while. So this is also for a play-by-post game, I had a Aven Ranger named Kiko. And Avens are a humanoid bird type person. They look like a human except for their face, and they have feather or wings on their back. And they're from the
Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering books. I cannot remember. Plane Shift. They're from the Plane Shift PDF games that were released by Wizard of the Coast, but they were only released as PDFs and not as actual physical books.
I believe it was the Amonkhet book.
Amonkhet, thank you, yes.
Yep.
So Avens are really broken and amazing, and this character is super, super broken. You can fly like 600 feet away, or you can fly, and at 600 feet is the range of a longbow, like the disadvantage range. You did not have disadvantage if you were the hawk-eyed Aven. So I could shoot 600 feet without disadvantage with plus 12 to my longbow.
That's so busted.
And I got minimum of 2 attacks, 3 if there was somebody within 5 feet of them, plus like Zephyr Strike or Hunter's Mark or whatever. Obviously, you have to cast Hunter's Mark while you're close, and then like there's build up to it, but still, it was ridiculous. So there was one game that I was in where we broke into a mage's tower to get a resurrection spell. for another player who was turned into a ghost. So this was literally a revive. Like this, the whole point of this quest was to resurrect one player. In this tower, we were doing really, really, really well until it went really badly all of a sudden, really quickly.
That's the way it usually goes.
Yeah, like I rolled natural 20s. I was being super stealthy. I got all the way in the house and into the tower, and then the mages realized what was happening, and they're like, "Stop right there!" And my character freaked out and was like, no, this isn't happening. And she tried to run, not realizing that the mage was holding a cone of cold. So she cone of colded me. I failed. I took a lot of damage and went unconscious. And then slowly failed my death saves as they were talking. And I was an ice sculpture.
Aw.
Oh no.
So then I'm just like, okay, I'm just dead. There's nothing I can do. And they had somebody come and talk to my character, like with Speak the Dead, and my character was super rude to them, like, just let me let me die, like, what are you doing, why are you wasting my time, type of thing. And then another character, without my character's permission, made a deal that we would work for the temple for 6 months and pledge our servitude for that time in order for them to resurrect us both. So I had to take a level in cleric, which I did not want to do, to be resurrected. And then when I was resurrected, I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean I have to worship a god? I don't believe it. So she learned how to be very sneaky, and I took levels in rogue after that, since my character was already like ranger, kind of like evidently tapers off after 7th level. I've never played a ranger high level, but so I was like 5 levels of ranger and then a level in cleric, and then like I ended up taking like 4 rangers in rogue before I retired the character. And her consequence for the death by cone of cold was vulnerability to cold damage. So now like she just avoids cold all the time. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
So on that note, I think that is the episode. So where can people find you guys?
So we people can stream our podcasts pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. We've got a RSS feed that, you know, it's on most places, but usually on Spotify or SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're available on all of those platforms. Our social media, we're on Twitter as at 3 Kobolds D&D, and we've got all of our info in terms of upcoming episodes or releases on there.
Awesome. You guys should definitely go check them out. And if you want, I will be on your show soon.
Yes, yeah, we'll have Nikki joining us for an episode coming up soon.
So super excited about that.
I mean, it might be out before this episode is, depending on everyone's schedules, but yeah, we'll see how that lines up.
This episode goes out, I can tell you.
We can actually tell people the right thing. Not just, I don't know, maybe not.
It probably comes out. No. This episode goes out on the 28th.
Will ours be out by then? No, it'll be the week after yours comes out. So there you go.
So go check me out on their show next week.
Yes.
And you guys can find our episodes anywhere where podcasts can be found. Please check us out on Twitter and Facebook, and talk to me on Twitter at Beholder to No One, or Greg on Facebook at Beholder to No One. Greg is lonely on Facebook. Go talk to Greg.
I'm always lonely.
Go show Greg some love, please.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We've really enjoyed having a chat with you too.
Yeah,
It
for
was a lot
sure.
of fun.
Definitely, it was a lot of fun.
All right, thanks so much for being on here, guys. It was fast, and we will talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.